It wasn't the full Bible at that point, New Testament, and smuggled them. Now, the bishops and authorities tried to prevent that smuggling. So they thought they were being very clever. They decided to buy whole stocks of Tyndale New Testament and burn them. So Tyndale was quite happy because it gave him the money to improve his translation and print more copies. But then they realized that there's just no way, there's such a hunger and appetite for the New Testament that the government cannot ban it. So they decided, okay, we will, by then, of course, for his own personal reason, Henry VIII had broken with the Catholic Church and become, quote-unquote, Protestants, at least nominally. So he decided, under influence from Thomas Cromwell and Cranmer and others, to allow the Bible. Now, he allowed the translation and publication and distribution of the Bible in the hope that Bible will make citizens of England submissive and obedient citizens, nice religious people who obey. But actually opposite happened. Once people started reading the Bible, the historian says, Duffy, for example, a Catholic historian, he says that every alehouse was turned into a debating club. The people were reading the Bible and questioning everything. Oh, King says this, but the Word of God says this. The Pope says this, but the Word of God says this. The university says this, but the Word of God says this. So there was so much sort of upheaval created as a result of the Bible. People suddenly began thinking, questioning, that King James, Henry VIII actually, himself wrote an edict to ban or revoke the permission that people reason the English Bible and own the English Bible. And that edict was never issued, but it was written and still available in his own handwriting. Henry VIII was a scholar in spite of all the trouble that he had with his wives. But the important point that I'm trying to make here is that the Bible is what made the Western civilization a thinking civilization. 2-3 years ago when at the turn of the millennium, where social historians were reviewing the millennium and asking the question, what was the greatest event of the last 1,000 years? They concluded that Gutenberg's Bible, printing press, and the first book to be printed was the Bible. Gutenberg's printing press and the Bible was the greatest invention of the millennium because everything else grew out of it. Knowledge became available, etc., etc. There is a serious problem with that. At one level, that assessment is true, but there is a serious problem with that assessment. And that is that the Chinese had invented printing press 700-800 years before Gutenberg. The Koreans had invented movable metal font 500 years before Gutenberg. Printing press didn't bring about a Renaissance or a Reformation in Asia. Why? Because by the time the printing press was invented, the Hindu-Buddhist ideas that the ultimate reality of this universe was not a rational person who communicates in words that are true, have meaning and sense, but the Hindu-Buddhist idea was that the ultimate reality is impersonal, spirit or force or silence or shunya or void or nothingness, as Buddhists would say. Now, if the ultimate reality is not impersonal silence, then yes, words can have no ultimate meaning. Words can only lead to more words and to more words and never to reality because they are totally subjective. They are inventions of our mind, and our mind has no direct explanation of, in the postmodern deconstructionist mindset, no direct way of knowing reality. So what had happened by the time uh,